So if I do this for you, am I going to get anything in return? Some of the good stuff? Promise. Don't forget the safe word this time. Last time I was walking like John Wayne. So before I get into the main fragrance video, I just want to shout out a project that my wife is working on YouTube. She is a deputy head teacher of a primary school and she's working on something called the Powerful Words Project. And I will link the YouTube channel below. If you go to that channel, what they do is, as part of that project, they share videos that are about 15 minutes long, and there's 2 different age groups. It covers from ages 5 all the way through to 11, but just check which age group you're watching. And the whole principle is they're trying to boost vocabulary of young children. So they'll talk about a word, what it means, its context, how to use it in a kind of the most effective way, and different ways in which that word can be used. So this came about because there was some research done that found children from kind of less fortunate families typically have a much smaller vocab than children from more affluent families. So this project has just come about to kind of boost vocabulary for all children and just kind of help them really make their vocab nice. So yeah, please go and give that YouTube channel a follow. I'll link it down below. And yeah, if nothing else, in this troubled time when we're all going a bit mad, you can stick your children in front of YouTube for 15 minutes and give yourself a break, can't you? Word to your mother. So my name's Steve, this channel is Frags to Riches. Thanks for tuning in. Today I'm going to be comparing this 2011 batch of La Nuit De L'Homme against this 2018 batch of La Nuit De L'Homme. I mean, you can already see the difference in the quality of the juice and the colour. So what does that mean in reality when you're smelling it? So anybody that follows my channel will know I'm a massive fan of La Nuit De L'Homme. It was one of the first fragrances that I just really got excited about, and when I first smelled it I just thought, damn, that is sexy as fuck. I love it. So, and that was one of the more recent batches because I wasn't around in Fragcom, as it were, when it originally kind of released. So I've only really experienced the later batches. And then I bought a clone of it called L'Homme by New Brand, which smells amazing but just doesn't even last like an hour. And I then, a year or 2 ago, I bought the most recent batch of La Nuit De L'Homme, and I've kind of been wearing it ever since. And as much as I love the smell, I just get a kind of dog shit performance from it. So basically, I always say that it just doesn't last, but it's not so much the fact that it doesn't last, it's the fact that it's got no effective longevity, if that makes sense. Because some 5-6 hours later, I can detect it on my skin, but that's the point. I'm having to detect it and kind of stick my nose in and go, yeah, I think it's there, and fucking taking swabs to the laboratory to run analysis just to see if it is present. It's that sort of situation. And in the opening, it does kind of have a nice sort of little bit of projection and sillage, but it just dies off straight away. So I basically only get 45 minutes to an hour of kind of reasonable projection, and then it just kind of dies off, and after like 2-3 hours you can't really smell it. So yeah, really not good. So basically La Nuit De L'Homme, I pretty much wear the 2018 batch kind of in the evenings when I'm chilling around the house, maybe after a shower and a long day at work. I just want something that smells really good, it's kind of can snuggle on the sofa, and it's quite a lovely comforting scent. So that's what I use it for, really. And yeah, that's where I've been at with La Nuit De L'Homme, and I've since bought the EDP version, hoping that would just be a stronger version, but they actually changed the formulation and there's leather in there. Don't get me wrong, love that version as well. But I've always just felt like I've never really got to fully experience the full pleasure of La Nuit De L'Homme. So I've managed to get this 100ml bottle. There's probably, what, about 80ml in there, and it cost me £98. So what I will say now before I go any further, for the people that only watch a few minutes of my videos, and FYI, that's fucking rude, so you shouldn't be doing that. But for those people that do, I will say this: if you take one thing away from this video, let it be this. The original 2011 batch of La Nuit De L'Homme is not a beast mode performance. It's not a beast mode fragrance. So if you take nothing else from this video, take that away. So I will come back to performance and how it exactly compares to the most recent batch in a mo, but what do I get? How do these two bad boys compare? So I've done numerous testing, wearing this for kind of days, wearing this for full days, wearing them on kind of an arm each and comparing longevity, etc, etc. So the smell first, let's do that. The thing I noticed the most with the original batch, which I've got on this arm, and I've got the most recent batch on this arm, is, as everybody says, the cardamom is so much stronger and richer and thicker in the original. So soon in the opening, you get this really intense, lovely, sweet, thick, spicy cardamom that's just a real pleasure. And where the most recent batch, it kind of skips the sort of almost the cardamom phase. Obviously cardamom is there, but it just kind of goes straight. It's a lot thinner, and it goes straight to like the more sort of powdery phase. So it's definitely like a thinner, lighter version, and it doesn't have that sheer intensity of the cardamom in the opening, and it just goes quite quickly to a kind of sweet, powdery kind of vibe, which is still really nice, don't get me wrong, I do love this. And where this version has this lovely, intense, and a heavier lid as well, I must note, this just real presence, and it just gives it a lot more depth in comparison. This is a lot lighter, the more recent batch, the original, has a lot more depth, and it's a kind of just a lot kind of denser in the opening. Now, as the older batch dries down, it does get progressively a little bit more powdery, but it does always kind of keep much stronger cardamom than the newer batches. So it gets a bit more powdery, and it starts kind of going down the same route as this, but this just gets there a lot quicker, and that's kind of all it is really, where this will slowly progress to this sort of more powdery kind of phase. Now, when I first started wearing this, I kept thinking, well, as much as a frag head would much more prefer this one, because you just get that intense, lovely cardamom, I kept thinking, well, actually, perhaps ladies might prefer this because it's just a bit softer and more powdery, and not as, you know, some might say your cardamom might, you know, if that's not the thing, it might be a bit too much, and they might like the softness from this. And that's what I kept thinking, but what I actually did is I had both on each arm, and I got the wife to smell. Now, I didn't give it any backstory, I didn't say what they were, the fact that it was the same product, different batches, I gave her no backstory, just got her to smell one, and she straight away said, that one smells better, and she went for the original 2011 batch. So clearly this is the one for ladies. That cardamom does work for them. So before I talk about performance of the 2011 batch, let me just kind of say this to manage expectations. These two fragrances smell similar, okay, but different. Just to manage, kind of, in case you do find a batch and you do pull the trigger and do order it, just to manage your expectations. They definitely smell similar, but they definitely smell different as well. It's, to give you some sort of, put it in context, it's not like this is a flanker to this, but it is like this is a very good clone of this. That's where I'm at with it. It is like it's a good clone, but it's just missing that special edge, and it's quite a wanky thing to say, but that X factor, it's kind of missing that little something that makes this one special. So yeah, just to manage your expectations. But talking about performance, which I know you're desperate to find out, this performs better, okay? And I could leave it there, but then you'll order some and then you'll be pissed off with me, because it's not a world apart from this and the performance, unfortunately. It's better, and the effective longevity is better, but the actual absolute longevity is not much more similar. So where I've said this, kind of, I can detect it after like 5 hours, 4 to 5 hours. This I can detect maybe sort of 5 to 6 hours. But because it's a bit thicker and a bit more dense, it has a kind of a more effective performance, in the sense that I wouldn't say it's so much projection, but you just get more wafts of it, and it's more noticeable. So it's probably more like the sillage. I think this sticks to clothes a lot more as well. So I just found that I would get wafts of this. I wouldn't say it's projecting for 2 to 3 hours, but I would say I could get wafts of it for 2 to 3 hours. So again, manage your expectations. You're not going to be able to kind of project and someone's going to smell it straight away, but when you're moving around, you will smell this effectively longer than the newer batch. Well, I did anyway, but it's not leaps and bounds. So as I say, I wouldn't say it's projecting for 2 to 3, but you will certainly smell it. It gets quite good projection the first hour, and then you'll get wafts of it for another 2 or 3 hours. And it ultimately lasted about 5 to 6, but again, towards the end, it was very much detecting it on my skin. So yeah, it will probably do you on a sort of day if it's a short day, or if you're wearing this, it's a lucky day and you can get back home and reapply it. So what's my verdict then? Should you stump up what can be silly money for an original batch, or should you just get the more recent one and save yourself a few quid? It all comes down to you, I would say. This is a bit of a cop-out, but it comes down to you and your relationship with this fragrance. So if you are a die-hard La Nuit De L'Homme fan, you probably owe it to yourself to try and pick up a vintage batch. The 2013 formulation I've not tried. It's meant to be kind of as good as this, but a little bit cheaper. But if you can get it for similar money to what I got, in my mind I was thinking about 100 quid is similar to what I'd pay for, you know, Bleu de Chanel, etc., or some high-end designer. I don't think that's too bad. Start going over £100 and probably equivalent dollars. You've just got to ask yourself, what does this fragrance mean to you? You know, I will cherish this batch and I will have this and I will wear this, and probably for kind of dates and things with the wife, you know, assuming she stays with me, after she finds out how much I paid for it. So yeah, I will cherish this. So for me, I don't regret it. I don't regret buying it. I'm pleased, and I will keep this in my collection and I will cherish this. But if you're not that fussed, if you're fairly new, if you just love the smell of this, I would then say save yourself some money, get this and buy an atomizer and just reapply it every 2 hours, because then you're going to get some of that opening, it's going to work. And you know, there's a hell of a savings difference there. So yeah, you can save yourself a few money, invest in a decent atomizer, carry it around with you and just keep reapplying it and topping it up, and just rinse through this. And you will enjoy it and you will get compliments and women will love it. And you know, within 2 hours, you should still get some effectiveness out of it. So there you go, that's my final verdict on a vintage batch of La Nuit De L'Homme. I do not regret buying this at all, and I will cherish this batch, but you've got to make the decision on this purchase based on what you expect and what your relationship is. You know, relationships are all about managing expectations. If I wake my wife up in the middle of the night hoping to get lucky and she offers me one off the wrist, I'm going to certainly appreciate that and enjoy that moment, but ultimately I might be a little bit disappointed that I didn't get fully what I was hoping for. And that's kind of where I am with a vintage batch of La Nuit De L'Homme. Thank you for watching. If you did get anything out of this, give it a like, you know, I'd appreciate that, it'd go down well. And if you haven't already done so, do hit that subscribe button. I would love you muchly. Thanks again, I will see you for the next video. Take care, much love.